Hey, Katie.
What's up, Ben?
Sup. So what are we talking about this week?
Today is Multi-Arm Bandit Day.
I've heard of that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Where have
wait,
you heard of
that's your Twitter handle.
That's my Twitter handle. I think it's a cool name, and Katie Malone or whatever was taken. So,
Wait,
but it's
so it's
a
actually a
machine learning
thing.
joke. Yeah, no, it's a real thing. It's a real thing.
I thought it was just some random weird name that you made up.
No, it's a way of running experiments.
Okay, that's awesome. So I guess we'll talk about that. You are listening to Linear Digressions. Okay, so it's a way of running experiments.
Yeah.
Actually, I should mention before we get started that our last episode was all about correlation and causation. If you haven't listened to that one, that'd be a wonderful one to listen to before this one. You don't have to, but it'd be cool.
Yeah, so what we talked about there a lot was things like A/B tests and how running experiments, randomly assigning people to the various kinds of groups that you want to test out, how that allows you to actually figure out if the thing that you're testing is what's actually causing the difference that you see in the outcomes for different groups. So one of the examples that we used was like drug trials, that you have to randomly allocate people to either get the placebo or to get the drug. And then that way, if the people who are getting the medicine that's being tested, if you see them doing better than the placebo group, you can say with confidence that it's because the medicine is actually making them better and it's not some kind of selection effect or them, having just being happy with the fact that they're getting some kind of treatment, even if the treatment is a sugar pill or something, because you've investigated that possibility in the placebo group. But one of the things that you pointed out quite properly
is there's a cost to it.
It can be kind of expensive, yeah. So one of the things that you pointed out is that you're going to be knowingly sending some of the people in your experiment down a path that you don't think is going to be particularly beneficial. So if I have an old crappy website and I'm A/B testing to see if my new better website is going to have a higher conversion rate, then the way that I run that experiment means that I have to send some people still to my old crappy website and potentially sort of lose out on some conversions as a result. Whereas if I were to send them all to my new website, then maybe the performance would jump, but I also wouldn't have as good of an understanding of exactly why it had changed.
And you pointed out, rightfully so, that the cost can be more significant than that. Like in health trials, if you split the group down the middle 50-50, then you're sending 50% of the people down a path where they're literally just getting a sugar pill rather than a treatment that could actually really benefit them or even save their life.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's the kind of cost, I guess, that comes with doing proper experiments to figure out whether it's a causal relationship or just a correlation.
Yeah, so Multi-Arm Bandit is an experimental framework that helps you deal with this exact situation where it's sort of costing you things to try to run this experiment, and you want to arrive at the correct answer sort of as quickly as possible. But you also start out sort of in a state where you don't know anything, and so you don't know what the best path is. And the reason why this is called a Multi-Arm Bandit is so it comes from originally the term one-arm bandit. Have you ever heard that term?
I have.
Do you know what it is?
No, I don't.
It's a slot machine.
Oh, one-arm bandit is a slot machine?
Yeah, it's just like a dumb, I don't know, old-timey nickname for slot machines, as they would call them one-arm bandits. Because the idea is the slot machine has the arm, you pull the arm, and then it usually takes your money, but sometimes it gives you a whole bunch of money, and so people gamble at them.
Yeah.
And so it's going to take your money in some probabilistic way. And so there's going to be some function that tells you probabilistically, oh, you could get a payout at a certain rate. So let's say that you have a slot machine and 10% of the time it's going to pay out. And you have another slot machine that's sitting right next to it, and that slot machine is going to pay out, but only 5% of the time. And in all of the respects are the same. So you have to put in the same amount of money, and when they pay out, it's the same amount of money and things like that. Mm-hmm. And so you walking up to these two slot machines, you don't know which one of them is the looser slot machine, but you want to find that one as quickly as possible and then play it. And so that's where Multi-Arm Bandit comes from, is you imagine a whole bank of these slot machines. And the problem is, how do you, as quickly as possible, or sort of as quickly as possible and making as much money as possible, figure out what's the best slot machine to spend all your money on?
Right. So in that case, you've got these two slot machines. If you do a randomized control trial, you split it down the middle and you put half of your money into one, half of your money in the other, then your payout is not going to necessarily be as high as if you used some other method to I guess, adjust how much money you're putting in the machine based on what you've already seen.
And that some other method is sort of what encompasses all of the multi-arm bandit algorithms. And there's different ways that you can do this rebalancing. But yeah, it's basically an idea of trading off also what's sometimes called the exploration versus exploitation trade-off. Is there's some things that I know and there are things that I don't know. And I sort of have to forego taking advantage of the things that I know about in order to explore something new. So this comes up for me all the time when I go out to go get a beer at a bar, where I have like the beers that I know that I like and they're good, but maybe I don't see my absolute favorite beer on the menu. And so I'm open to potentially trying something new. But I also see some beers on there that I know are like probably pretty good, and I'm not going to have a bad time if I order this one. And so it's always something that I spend a couple CPU cycles thinking about a little bit is, do I want to go for the sure thing that's probably pretty good, or do I want to branch out and try something new? And it could be something that's really amazing, but I could also just end up with a beer I don't like that much, and I would have been happier with just kind of the tried and true stuff. So it's that exploration versus
you're saying
exploitation.
I can do that with menus? Because I've run into this problem before. So before I was or it was around college that I decided, you know what, whenever I go to a restaurant and I see something that I've never ordered before, I'm going to order that thing, even if there's something that I know that I love. And I did that for like 2 years, where I always ordered something new. And then I stopped. And now I kind of order the same thing over and over again. But you're saying that there's actually a method that I can use to, I guess, increase, to maximize my utility in a way.
Well, I don't know that I would go so far as to tell you that the mathematics of bandit problems are going to be particularly suitable for that
Let's
paradigm.
pretend that I eat a lot.
And you know exactly, you can quantify how much happier you are with dish A than dish B.
Never mind.
Okay.
Never mind.
But,
It's hard to qualify.
No, but it's illustrative of, you had a very strong bias towards exploration early on.
Right.
You're like, I'm just going to try everything. And I don't care. I almost don't care if I'm going to like it or not. Like, I'm not going to try to play that game. I'm just going to try all the things. And then later on, once you know more, you see like, okay, now I know what I like the best, and I'm just going to zoom in on that, and I'm going to forego potentially finding new things that I like more, because I've, at this point, sort of seen as much as I need to know to like be confident in the decisions that I'm going to make. Mm-hmm. And so it's exactly that trade-off of how can we deal with this in an experimental setup. So I have, my two different websites that I'm testing, and I see that one of them seems to be performing, let's say, significantly better than the other one. And so then I'm going to take more of my traffic and I'm going to route it through the more performant one. And I'm still sending some people through the less performant one, but the idea is to sort of minimize the impact, the hit that I'm taking by sending people to the crappy old website, while still sending enough people through there that I'm getting meaningful data back out. So this is always sort of the thing that you have to be careful of, is making sure that the statistical significance of your study isn't suffering too much as a result, and you're actually getting meaningful results out. But potentially, if you have two things that are imbalanced enough, you can even stop the experiment early with bandit problems, because you've arrived at the answer. You know which one of these is the two better of them, and that's the one you're going to stick with. Mm-hmm. In fact, though, I should add that sometimes opens you up to problems. And I was listening to a really interesting podcast the other day. There was a guy who worked a lot in drug research, which we keep coming back to for some reason. Mm-hmm. But he was saying that, sometimes there can be problems where like drug research just goes wrong, and you reach the wrong conclusion in a drug trial. And what ends up happening is then you have a bad drug out on the market, potentially for a very long time, either bad in the sense that it doesn't really work, or bad in the sense that it could have side effects that people weren't aware of or weren't guarding against properly. They didn't understand the magnitude. And he said that can actually be much more likely to happen in experiments trials that were stopped early. So they'll do this sometimes with drug trials, where they start the experiment. It's kind of an A/B test. You split people up sort of evenly. And then if there's such a dramatic difference between the two groups, such that it would be unethical for them to keep up with the experiment, where they're just like, no, we know the answer and we should just put everybody on the treatment right now. We shouldn't have anybody on the placebo. We shouldn't be withholding this good medicine from anyone who has an illness. Those are the trials actually that can be some of the ones that are most susceptible to having them, have to be called back potentially years later because, there's just stuff that you could have maybe been aware of if you had gone all the way through to the end of the trial, that maybe just because of a statistical fluctuation, it looks like things are better for the drug than they are, and then they're really good. And so you're biasing yourself sort of in this paradigm sometimes to see better results than you would if you went all the way through to the end. So you have to be very careful with it, and you have to make sure that you're getting proper statistics to be really confident in the answers that you're getting. But the trade-off is that then, if you do have a situation where one of the options is truly better than the other one, a multi-arm bandit can help you find it more quickly and with less of a cost than just a traditional A/B test.
Linear Digressions is a Creative Commons endeavor, which means you can share or use it any way you like. Just tell them we said hi. To find out more about this or any other episode of Linear Digressions, go to lineardigressions.com. And if you like this podcast, go ahead and leave us a review on iTunes so other people get to listen to this content too. You can always get in touch with either of us. Our emails are ben@lineardigressions.com and katie@lineardigressions.com in case you have comments or suggestions for future shows. You can tweet us at lindigressions. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.